The world watched in disbelief as tensions that had been simmering for years finally erupted into one of the most significant conflicts of the 21st century. What began as a regional dispute quickly evolved into a global flashpoint, drawing in powerful nations, reshaping alliances, and redefining the future of warfare. This is not just the story of a war. This is the story of power, resistance, strategy, and survival, the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine. To understand what is happening today, you have to go back in time.
Лежать на вулицях, там діти сидять в підвалі, там в лікарнях немає води, там гуманітарні.
Long before the first missiles struck Ukrainian soil in 2022, the relationship between these two nations was deeply intertwined. Ukraine was once part of the Soviet Union, a massive superpower that collapsed in 1991 when Ukraine became independent.
Ukraine and of its people's political independence.
It inherited not only its sovereignty but also a complex relationship with Russia. For decades, Ukraine stood at a crossroads politically, culturally, and geographically, torn between closer ties with Europe.
Ukraine filed its application for membership in the European Union
And maintaining its historical connection with Russia. But everything changed in 2014. That year marked a turning point when Russia annexed Crimea, a move that shocked the world and ignited a new phase of conflict.
The Russians appear to have won this round, taking control of their prize, Crimea.
Ukraine resisted, and fighting broke out in eastern regions like Donetsk and Luhansk.
And its twin cities Donetsk and Luhansk bear the brunt of mounting Russian strikes.
Even then, many believed the conflict might remain contained. But beneath the surface, tensions were building, strategies were forming, and both sides were preparing for something much bigger. Fast forward to February 24, 2022. In the early hours of the morning, Russia launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Tanks rolled across borders, missiles struck major cities, and millions of lives were instantly changed. Russian President Vladimir Putin declared the operation necessary for security reasons, while Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky vowed to defend his country at all costs. What many expected to be a quick victory turned into a prolonged and brutal conflict. Ukraine did not collapse. Instead, it resisted fiercely. Ukrainian forces, backed by strong national unity and international support, managed to slow down and even push back Russian advances in several key regions. Cities like Kyiv became symbols of resilience, while battles in places like Mariupol and Bakhmut turned into intense and devastating confrontations. One of the most surprising elements of this war has been Ukraine's ability to adapt. Despite having a smaller military compared to Russia, Ukraine leveraged modern tactics, intelligence, and advanced weaponry supplied by Western allies. Precision strikes, drone warfare, and strategic defense turned the battlefield into a complex and unpredictable environment. This was no longer a traditional war, it was a hybrid conflict combining old-school military power with cutting-edge technology. On the other side, Russia faced challenges that many analysts did not expect. Initial plans for a rapid victory encountered logistical problems, strong resistance, and international backlash. Sanctions imposed by Western countries targeted Russia's economy, affecting industries, banking systems, and global trade relationships. Yet Russia continued its operations, adapting its strategies and reinforcing its positions in occupied territories. As the war progressed, it became clear that this was not just a regional conflict. It had global implications. Energy markets were disrupted, food supplies were affected, and geopolitical alliances shifted dramatically. Europe, heavily dependent on Russian gas, had to rethink its energy strategy almost overnight. Meanwhile, countries around the world were forced to take sides or navigate a delicate balance between competing interests. Another major aspect of this conflict is information warfare. Both sides have used media, social platforms, and global narratives to shape public opinion. Videos, speeches, and real-time updates have turned this war into one of the most documented conflicts in history. Leaders like Zelensky have used communication as a powerful tool, addressing not only their citizens but also the international community, building support and maintaining morale. The human cost of this war is staggering. Millions of Ukrainians have been displaced, cities have been reduced to rubble, and countless lives have been lost. Families have been separated, communities destroyed, and an entire generation has been impacted by the trauma of war. Yet, amid the destruction, stories of courage and resilience continue to emerge. Ordinary people have become heroes, defending their homes and supporting each other in ways that inspire the world. As we look at the battlefield today, the situation remains complex and evolving. Frontlines shift, strategies change, and both sides continue to adapt. Ukraine has launched counteroffensives aimed at reclaiming occupied territories, while Russia has fortified its positions and increased its military efforts. The war has entered a phase where progress is measured in small gains, but the stakes remain incredibly high. One of the biggest questions is how this conflict will end. Will there be a negotiated settlement, a decisive victory, or a prolonged stalemate? The answer is uncertain. What is clear, however, is that the outcome of this war will shape the global order for years to come. It will influence military strategies, international relations, and the balance of power between nations. Another critical dimension is the role of international support. Countries like the United States and members of NATO have provided Ukraine with military aid, intelligence, and financial assistance. This support has been crucial in sustaining Ukraine's defense efforts. However, it has also raised concerns about escalation, as Russia views such involvement as a direct challenge to its interests. Meanwhile, Russia has sought to strengthen its own alliances, building closer ties with nations that share its strategic interests. This has created a complex web of relationships that extend far beyond the battlefield, turning the conflict into a global chess game where every move has far-reaching consequences. Technology has also played a defining role in this war. From satellite imagery to cyber warfare, the battlefield has expanded beyond physical borders. Cyber attacks have targeted infrastructure, communications, and even financial systems. Drones have changed the dynamics of combat, allowing for precise targeting and real-time surveillance. This war is not just being fought on land, it is being fought in the digital realm as well. As the conflict continues, the economic impact cannot be ignored. Sanctions on Russia have reshaped global trade, while Ukraine's economy has been severely affected by the destruction of infrastructure and industries. At the same time, the war has driven innovation and adaptation, with both countries finding new ways to sustain their efforts under challenging conditions. Public opinion around the world has also evolved. In the early stages of the war, there was widespread support for Ukraine, with many countries condemning Russia's actions. Over time, however, the situation has become more nuanced. Different regions have different perspectives, influenced by political, economic, and historical factors. This diversity of viewpoints adds another layer of complexity to an already intricate conflict. Inside Ukraine, the war has transformed society. National identity has been strengthened, and a sense of unity has emerged in the face of adversity. Citizens have taken on new roles, from volunteering to supporting the military effort. Despite the hardships, there is a strong determination to protect independence and rebuild the country. In Russia, the war has also had a significant impact. The government has maintained strong control over the narrative, emphasizing national security and strategic goals. At the same time, economic pressures and international isolation have created challenges that affect everyday life. The long-term consequences for Russia remain uncertain as the country navigates a rapidly changing global landscape. One cannot ignore the psychological aspect of this war. The constant threat, the uncertainty, and the loss have taken a toll on millions of people. Mental health has become a critical issue, with individuals and communities struggling to cope with the realities of conflict. Yet, resilience remains a defining characteristic as people continue to find ways to move forward. Looking ahead, the future of this conflict will depend on several key factors: military developments, political decisions, international support, and economic conditions will all play a role in shaping the outcome. Diplomatic efforts may open the door to negotiations, but trust between the parties remains a major obstacle. What makes this war particularly significant is its impact on the global stage. It has challenged assumptions about security, exposed vulnerabilities in international systems, and highlighted the importance of alliances. Countries are reevaluating their defense strategies, investing in new technologies, and preparing for a world where conflicts may become more complex and unpredictable. Because in the end, beyond the strategies, the politics, and the power struggles, it is the people who matter most. Their lives, their stories, and their resilience are what truly define this conflict, and their future is what hangs in the balance as the world stands at a crossroads, witnessing history in the making.